we could have done better in that a really sophisticated approach to the case would have been to try to put it all on with video evidence. That is not usually an easy thing to do. I would say with 20/20 hindsight, it's something that could have been done, and I own that. I mean, ultimately the buck stops here. It's not my job to throw other people under the bus. If there's a decision that is poor, and I believe that that was an incorrect decision, then we have to own it, and we have to try to do better moving forward.
Every day, new investigations reveal bits and pieces of the Kada Scott case that was overlooked because, let's be honest, the authorities did mess up big time. And now reports are circulating that the police have now obtained video evidence proving that Keon King was not alone when it comes to the passing of Kada Scott. And there might be 2 other people who were also involved. And get this, people are saying that Keon was hired to get the job done. This situation keeps getting darker and more confusing. Now, upon further research, we're just gonna update you and break some things down. Ever since the anonymous phone call came through that helped the police discover the exact location of where Kada's body was, the police have been on a manhunt to discover who the person is and to determine if they were an accomplice of Keon King. But the police have now gotten their hands on surveillance footage showing Keon King and 2 other people from the day that Kada's body was moved. Initially, it was reported that a second person helped Keon move a heavy bag believed to contain Kada's body away from the scene of the crime. But get this, there is now a third person who has allegedly helped Keon and this second person drive around with Kada's remains. If what the cops are saying is true, then they may have even more evidence showing that the passing of Kada was as premeditated and ruthless as they come. Did Kada owe Keon some money? Or did she witness a crime and they wanted to silence her for good? What is the reason?
Yeah, Sheba and Jason, Keon King appeared over video conference for his arraignment, and he was polite, answering yes, ma'am, when the judge asked him a question. King has been in custody for over a week now in connection to Kada Scott's disappearance and now murder, and the judge says he'll remain behind bars without bail.
So we know that Kada Scott was picked up on October 4th, and from that day on, she went missing until her body was eventually discovered, buried in a shallow grave in a wooded area behind Ada H. Lewis Middle School. But this story actually starts on September 28th, because it was the first time that we have on record that these 2 began talking. Keon, or Kel as he calls himself, first messaged Kada on September 28th, and then he messaged her again on October 2nd with a TextNow number. FYI, TextNow is a phone service provider that allows people to text back and forth for a fee. He told her that he had changed his number and introduced himself again. Now, keep in mind, these texts are from court documents, and there's a high chance that they are not showing us everything that was exposed during the conversation between Kada and Keon, in the event that this case goes to trial. But on October 4th, Kada texts, "Kidnap me again," to which Keon responds, "Better be up too." And it was followed up with plans to meet that night, which we know eventually happened. At 10:09 p.m., Kada sent her final text, "See him when you're here," which investigators confirmed meant "call me." The court documents also say that she entered what looked like a dark-colored SUV and left immediately. Then around 10:24, her phone went dark. The police now claim that a car, which looked like a SUV, was actually a black Hyundai Accent that Keon had stolen from a pizza delivery driver when he stepped out to make a delivery. The car was parked at Albury Recreation Center adjacent to the Ada H. Lewis Middle School and remained there for over 36 hours. Then surveillance footage from October 5th shows 2 people moving a heavy object consistent with what could be a human body from the car to the school. The footage also shows that a third person might have been involved, as a gold Toyota Camry was also seen leaving the scene. On October 7th was when the black Hyundai Accent was found after it was set on fire in an attempt to destroy forensic evidence. So with the car gone, the major piece of evidence tying Keon and any of his accomplices to Kada's unaliving is also gone too. So far, we know that there are 2 people with Keon, along with the 2 women who lived with him when he was moving between his house and the crime scene. But there's someone else, a name investigators haven't mentioned, and people are suspecting as one of the people who may have helped Keon dispose of Kada's body, or at the very least knew what was going to happen, or has details, is Gabby. Remember, Gabby did this whole video on TikTok defending herself about why she refused to call the police and tell them what she knew about Keon and Kada.
So one day Keon calls me, and keep in mind I am in school, I am in Maryland, and he will usually just call me, just to check up and talk. So he calls me and he asks me if I know Kada. And I'm like, yeah, I know Kada. And he's like, oh yeah, I noticed that she lives really close to you. I'm like, yeah, she lived right in the back of me. And I'm not thinking nothing of it because he usually calls me and, we just be chatting. He'll call me about the people that be around because he is the pharmacist. I live in the neighborhood and he be in my neighborhood. So we hang up the phone and that was that. We were only on the phone for 29 seconds. So you can see that this is the day that he called me and there was no reason to call the cops. He already turned himself in. And I felt like it would be kind of a waste of time to tell them that the guy that they already have in custody, called me and was asking about the girl. And me personally, I'm not a cop caller. I don't call the cops. That's just the way that I grew up. That's what I was around. They will always tell me, you don't call the cops. So I just felt like, the information that I had and the fact that, I'm just not really a cop caller, it wouldn't make sense for me to call the cops.
Now, Gabby did the video to paint herself as the innocent party, but if anything, it made her look even more sus. For instance, she said that Keon called her for 29 seconds, and that was when she told him that Kada lived close to her. But if you look closely at the screenshot of the call she posted, it says outgoing, not incoming. And that means that Gabby was the one that made the call to Keon and not the other way around. So what were they talking about? And then there's this little funny business about what Gabby was arrested for. Gabby posted a message for her mom, which showed that she was arrested and recently released. When folk dug into her record and all that, they found out that she was arrested back in March of 2025 and was charged with possession of a weapon, terroristic threats, conspiracy, assault, aggravated assault, and endangering another person. Gabby is currently out on bond and still has a case pending in court and may have been able to come to an agreement with the court that allows her to travel out of state for educational reasons, because she kept mentioning in her video that she has an exam coming up and wants to get her head in the books.
That I'm taking my midterms. So I'm really just trying to keep my head on the books, and I wasn't really trying to let this stress me out. So I kind of just let it go. He turned himself in. It's not really much to say or do anymore.
So with Gabby's whole record and Keon being the neighborhood pharmacist shows that she probably has a much deeper relationship with Keon and connection to this case than she's letting on. And what makes this case even more twisted is that the whole thing might have been planned long before Keon first messaged Kada on September 28th. One of Kada's co-workers from the nursing home she worked at said that before she went missing, Kada appeared visibly upset and overheard her saying, "I can't believe you're calling me about this." Kada's parents also said that she had told them days before she vanished that someone had been harassing her. So did Kada get on someone's wrong side and Keon was brought to get the job done? And another thing that doesn't sit well with people is how Kada was unalived. According to the Philadelphia Medical Examiner, she was hit straight in the head. But the thing is, from Keon's extensive criminal record, unaliving someone with a shot to the head doesn't seem like his go-to method. This is a man that has no problem choking, and from his past record, this is his preferred way of dealing with women. So unaliving Kada in this manner just seems more detached, like he wanted to get it done without as much personal contact or effort. Also, being the neighborhood pharmacist, taking people out like that might be something he's all too familiar with and finally got caught. And with all these pieces falling together, people are hoping that this time it's enough to get Keon locked away for good. I originally thought maybe it was an accident because it didn't seem planned out, but then it made no sense to come to her in a stolen car. She definitely knew him though. This doesn't seem like the action of a newbie. This guy seems like he has done this type of violence before. This dude is either very bold or very stupid for dumping the body in his own neighborhood. He was also bold enough to pick her up from her job knowing that later on the police would link him to this crime. Yep, that girl Gabby needs to be charged, and she definitely has done more behind the scenes. But do you guys think this situation was premeditated? Remember, the case is developing fast. So if you want daily updates as the story unfolds, subscribe and turn on your notifications. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, baddies.